Hermes is the most powerful AI agent out there, even more so than OpenClaw. But the problem is that most people have no idea how to use it. So in this video, I'm going to show you 8 life-changing use cases for Hermes agent that you can start using right now. Let's get into it. All right, so number one, expense tracking. There's a ton of tutorials out there, one by myself as well, on how to build an expense tracker using Telegram and N8N. But with Hermes agent, you don't need to do any of that because there's a skill built in and it's installed by default. You don't even have to enable it. All you have to do is tell it, I want you to help me start tracking my expenses. And you'll see that it'll pull up the skill automatically. It creates a markdown file for every single month and just pulls all of your expenses up. Next time you go do some shopping or you spend some money, just go ahead and drop a photo of the receipt into Telegram or just tell it how much you spent. It'll automatically update it. Nothing else that you need to do. All right, number two, giving Hermes access to your second brain. So if you're using Obsidian and you're using Claude Code to make an LLM wiki about everything about yourself, you'll probably have something like this set up. This is essentially my business brain in Obsidian created by Claude Code. We have all of these different nodes, connections to different things. These are all extracted from my YouTube videos, from books that I like, from articles that I've written. Claude Code just went ahead and beautifully compiled all of this into a brain with connections. Now to make this permanent, I just uploaded this entire folder as a GitHub repository, grabbed the URL, came back into Hermes, pasted in the URL, and asked it to pull the repo for me. And now Hermes has access to that exact repository. So if I ask it, I can ask it anything and it'll go ahead and pull up responses for me. So I could simply ask it something like, what's next with Brady Spear? And it'll search files for this name. It'll find that in my wiki and my sources, do some more searches, and synthesize all of that information. So we have from the wiki, most recent source called to May 14th. We have clear next steps, quick context, and some options for things that we have to do next. Now, having this wiki in place isn't just for recalling things. It can also be used for creating new things. And that's use case number 3. So we all probably use AI for content creation, but the issue is that any content that AI creates just screams AI, right? Because the information is generic, it's recycled, and unfortunately, places like LinkedIn have just become AI regurgitation farms. Now, the way that you can differentiate yourself is if you hook up your AI creation to your second brain. That means that the AI will now draw from your own experiences, from your own thoughts, and synthesize those into pieces of content. So if I were to go ahead and ask it, hey, go through my second brain and find me something interesting on expense tracking and go ahead and draft a LinkedIn post for me that really speaks to my ICP. And you'll see that the generated post was in my voice and even based on my personal experiences using phrases like I did this and I did that. That gives your content the authenticity that it needs to stand out in today's world. All right, coming in at number 4, now that you have content creation down, why not take it to the next step and actually have Hermes create content for you on schedule every single day. So you can literally wake up to have ready drafted posts in your voice for you to go ahead and publish across your socials. And the way to do that is to set up a cron job. Now, a cron job is just a fancy way of saying a task that is supposed to happen at a given time on the server. So just tell Hermes, set up a cron job to generate 2 posts like these every morning at 8 a.m. Now, once you hit this command, Hermes is going to create that task, and every morning at 8 a.m., it's going to surface 2 brand new posts ready for you to publish. I'm not going to run this command because I already have something set up. So let me go ahead and show you which ones I have. Which cron jobs do I have regarding content creation? And you'll see that I have a daily content pipeline skill where I scrape content from the internet to get ideas. I also have a LinkedIn poster skill, which generates LinkedIn posts for me. And I have an inspirational carousel skill, which generates carousels for Instagram. So over the last 3 use cases, you've seen how Hermes can become your full content creation engine. And you can literally have it run on autopilot with minimal input from your side. That is incredibly powerful. All right, now the next one is one of my favorites. I was actually trying to build an app to do this for me, but then I installed Hermes Agent and I realized Hermes could probably do this better. So essentially, it's a personal CRM. Basically, it's an index file of people that I want to keep in touch with more often, and individual files for every person with information on when I last contacted them or my last interaction and anything that I wish to remember about them. Now, the awesome part is I can set up a cron job so that Hermes sends me a reminder every morning at a given time with a random name from that index and prompts me to get in touch with that person. If you're into networking and building relationships, this will help you 10x your results and help you build more meaningful relationships with the people that you care about. So to set this up, just go ahead and put in this prompt. Build me a personal CRM, maintain an index of people I wish to contact and the date I last contacted them, maintain a log for each individual in a separate file, and create new files for new people as and when I add them. And every day at 9 a.m., surface someone from the list with any info you have about them and prompt me to contact them. I may also tell you about certain interactions I have with people, which you are to record as well, both in the index and the personal profile page. So if we hit enter, it's going to go ahead and most likely create a skill and build out the infrastructure to keep this going. All right, so you'll see that it automatically understood that in order to pull this off, it has to create a skill. And that is really what makes Hermes so very powerful, that it understands by default what it needs to do and it remembers how to do it. All right, so the personal CRM is now created and it's going to suggest the person with the oldest last contact date. Now, if you don't want it to be this way, you can also ask the skill to randomize it. So let's go ahead and tell it to change that. So we're just going to say randomize the selection weighted by last contact date. Instead of pulling up the person with the biggest distance between contacts, which might become monotonous at a certain point in time, randomizing it keeps it a little bit more interesting. And just to make sure everything is really cemented, we're going to say make sure this is saved as a skill. All right, there it is. Everything is set. All right, now on to number 6. You might have heard of Excalidraw, which is a really neat whiteboard software for making diagrams. The only thing is, making the diagrams by hand is a real pain. And that's where Hermes comes in. Hermes has a specialized skill for making Excalidraw diagrams. It gives you some code, you just copy that code, paste it in, and it's ready to go. If you want, it can even give you a file which you can download and drag onto the browser window if you're running it on a Mac. So let's go ahead and say make a simple Excalidraw diagram explaining the personal CRM. And there is the simple Excalidraw diagram. Now this diagram would have otherwise taken me quite a few minutes to make because I'm not very comfortable with Excalidraw, but thanks to Hermes, I was able to do it in less than 30 seconds. Now for number 7, we can utilize the cron job feature in Hermes to really do anything. And one really interesting and actually self-improving feature that I've seen and that I've started to use in Hermes is I want to learn something new every single day. And I want to learn something curated to my interests and based on what I've learned the previous day. So I can actually make Hermes my personal tutor by telling it to create a cron job, to send me some new information or teach me a certain subject, parts of it every single day over a period of time. So let's go ahead and see how this looks like in a prompt. Hey, I want to learn more about statistics and probability. I'm a relative beginner, so I want you to set up a cron job every day at 10 a.m. that teaches me one concept of statistics and probability, and every day it should build upon the previous day until eventually we cover most basic topics. So it set it up for me, and every day at 10 a.m. it's going to send me a focus concept, simple explanation, a real world example, a small exercise or question, and a connection to what I had learned previously. And the connection to what I had learned previously is really the most powerful thing here. So to see how this would work, let's start with day 1. So we have some information about statistics, and we also have a quick exercise. So once I drop in the answer, it'll actually check them for me and explain day 2 tomorrow. And that's when the cron job will run. And the next day at 10 a.m., I will receive my new lesson. This is a really powerful way to learn anything new in bite-sized chunks and keep updated with your progress. Now, you might be wondering, you could do this in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever other AI that you're using. But the benefit of using it in Hermes is, number 1, it's scheduled. And number 2, Hermes just does a much better job of keeping track of the memories because it saves them as separate files instead of doing it all in a single chat. Now, last but not least in this list, coming in at number 8, is the ability to generate the most insane infographics that look professionally designed and are incredibly clear using a skill called value infographics. So let's just continue with the previous example and let's tell Hermes to use the value infographics skill to create a chart explaining what you just told me. Now it's going to ask some follow-up questions, whether I want a bento grid or a comparison matrix or a hub and spoke model. Let's choose the bento grid. So option number 1, and it's going to go ahead and actually generate an image based on that skill. And there is the infographic. Amazing. All of the text rendered beautifully. So just with that single prompt and that single skill invocation, we were able to generate this incredible infographic. Now, to get results like these out of Gemini or any other image generation model, you'd have to sit and tweak a very long prompt before you could get results like these. So whether you're using this for your own content creation or just to explain things to others, whether you're an educator, you're a content creator, or even if you're making something for work to use in a presentation, this skill will save you hours and make your presentations look that much more professional. So there you have it, 8 very powerful, life-changing use cases for Hermes Agent. Now this list is by no means exhaustive, but it's an excellent starting point to start scratching the surface of what you can really do with Hermes Agent. Now, if you want to work with me to build systems like this in your business, there's a link in the description for the application form. Fill it out to get in touch. And if you're looking for templates like these that you can download and start plugging into your business right away, you can check out my school community. There's a link to that in the description as well. I'll see you in the next one.